Director at the Commission on Public Integrity, Barry Ginsberg. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So a little news, this is like the scandal that never dies. It's really unbelievable. We're talking about Troopergate. Troopergate is from Eliot Spitzer. Eliot Spitzer has been gone since 2008 of March.
From our perspective, this matter is virtually over. The only thing left for us to do is to collect the $10,000 civil penalty that was assessed against Darren Dopp.
Well, I'm not necessarily sure you're going to get it anytime soon. Have you seen Darren Dopp's response?
I've seen Darren Dopp's response, and I would say this. The law affords people every opportunity, or many opportunities, to make their case and to have a fair hearing. But it doesn't afford them endless opportunities to do that. And in Darren Dopp's case, the issue that the judge decided this case on, the issue of the failure to serve the Attorney General, is an issue that we raised in our papers on January 25th when we moved to dismiss. It came up again when we had oral argument, which Darren Dopp requested, on February 19th. On either of those dates, or within a couple of days after the argument, Mr. Dopp, had he chose to do so, could have easily corrected the problem. He could have walked a couple of blocks up to the Attorney General's office, and I know he knows where that is because he worked there for 8 years, and probably still has a lot of friends and former colleagues there, and handed them a copy of his papers, and that would have been that. But he chose not to do that. And so I think under those circumstances, he will not be given another opportunity.
It seems to me, though, that this is, at this point, a little bit of a power struggle between the Commission on Public Integrity and Darren Dopp. And also, it comes, you know, in the wake of, quite some time ago now, an Inspector General's report that was harshly critical of the PIC in terms of the way that it conducted itself. Now, I know that's before you came on and actually forced the resignation of your predecessor, or really led to the resignation of your predecessor. But I mean, why are we still having this discussion? We're
still having this discussion because Darren Dopp refuses to accept that he's restricted by the law, or at least when he was a public official, he was restricted by the Code of Ethics that all state employees and officials have to follow, and that when he failed to do that, when he failed to follow that Code of Ethics, there are consequences, which the law clearly provides. So I would say it's not a power struggle. It's a matter of him refusing to accept what the law is and how the facts and the evidence apply in his case. And the law affords him an opportunity to make the challenge that he made. He's now lost that challenge. And as I said, the only thing left for us to do is to collect the civil penalty, and the law also provides the tools for that. He has a job, I believe. He has a house, I believe. And if he doesn't pay voluntarily, the law allows for us to seize property and to seize his pay in order to make good on the judgment, just like any other civil case.
Let me just make sure I understand you correctly. If he does not pay his $10,000, you will seek his $10,000 through what? Garnishing his wages?
Absolutely.
And his home, and going after his home?
I don't know specifically what we will do, but I'm saying that these are some of the tools that the law provides when you have a debt that hasn't been paid.
You know, a lot of people think, and you know, I'm not sure.
You pay your debts, I pay my debts.
I generally do.
And if you didn't pay your debts, the same thing would happen to you.
I do pay my debts, and so thankfully we don't have to have that discussion. A lot of people think, actually, that he was sort of the fall guy, that Darren Dopp took the fall in a scandal that really, and you know, just to refresh people's memory, what we're talking about is the misuse of the state police to really, by Eliot Spitzer's administration, to go after his then political nemesis, Senate Majority Leader Joe Bruno, who's got his own problems, legal problems that we won't even get into. Is the Commission, I mean, the Commission never really went after Eliot Spitzer.
Well, you know, people say about go after. The Commission conducted an investigation. It was a full investigation, a thorough investigation. Some people have criticized us for being too thorough. But it was a thorough investigation. And we do what any responsible official in our position would do, which is we look at the evidence and we apply the law to the evidence. And the law and the evidence in this case did not lead the Commission to believe that charges against Eliot Spitzer were justified. I might add that all of that evidence, all of the evidence from the Commission's investigation, has been publicly available. We posted it on our website for probably almost 3 years now. Nobody's come forward and looked at that evidence and shown where we got it wrong. Not even the IG, who was critical of the Commission in other respects, but not even the IG said that.
Let's just move on. Actually, there's another investigation that's going on. You had that one that's still open of the former governor. We have a current governor who has an investigation now into his aide. This investigation is still open. David Johnson and the alleged involvement of David Patterson and his in David Johnson's assault case. Is that correct?
As you know, that matter, and I think this has been publicly stated, not by us, that's a matter being handled by the Attorney General's office at the moment. And as you would expect, and is common in these cases, when there's an entity with civil jurisdiction and an entity with criminal jurisdiction, most often the entity with civil jurisdiction tries to not do anything that would adversely affect the criminal investigation. And that's how we think that's the responsible way to behave, and that's what we've done.
But your case remains open until such time. In other words, when Andrew Cuomo, well, actually, it's not Andrew Cuomo at this point, it's former Chief Judge Judith Kaye, but
Correct.
when she comes up with a finding, and the timing of that is sort of anyone's guess, but whenever that happens, will the Public Integrity Commission then reconsider its own case? Because you've not closed that case.
We haven't closed the case, and I can't speculate on what the Commission will do or not do. It'll depend a lot on what the circumstances are at that time.
You know, actually, that was when was that? It was a number of months ago that we're talking about already.
When was what?
When the Public Integrity Commission issued a report on...
We charged the governor with violating the gift provisions and referred it, that matter, the Yankee, the World Series tickets matter,
right.
In early March. I believe the date was March 3rd, but it was early March.
Okay, March. We are now in mid-July.
Correct.
Still waiting for an answer from the Chief Judge, who, Andrew Cuomo, has recused himself from this case for obvious reasons, politically speaking. Are you not frustrated? Is the Commission not frustrated that we've not seen anything here?
Well, I'm a former prosecutor, and I'm pretty familiar with the New York State criminal process. And it's not a fast process. In the federal process, grand jury presentations, if there is one, I don't know if there is or not, but if there is one, they have a very streamlined process. The state process is not that way. I've had cases that it took over a year to present to a grand jury. But
the Commission still believes that the governor lied, actually, in that situation.
We thought there was enough evidence that the governor committed perjury that we referred the matter to the Attorney General, which the statute authorized us to do, and asked him to consider it,
and yet
his office is doing.
He's still obviously governing. There were some people who thought that he should resign. Did you think he should resign?
I wouldn't speculate on that. We have the laws that we have to deal with, and we deal with them as effectively and fairly as we can. We're not political actors. We don't want to enter into that arena.
Well, but the fact that you're not political actors, except you are politically appointed, is part of the problem, right?
That's not correct. The commissioners are appointed by a variety of different individuals, as you know, meant to have a range. But once they're appointed, they serve set terms, which is one way of divorcing them or separating them from the political process. At the staff level, at my level, there's no political involvement whatsoever.
But there is, I mean, the governor actually spoke quite harshly about